hope everyone's got their pizza ready because we got a lot to see with the brand new Unmatched Adventures TMNT. If you're a fan of the channel, consider supporting me on Patreon. For as little as $1 per month, you can help me continue to bring you premier Unmatched content. Unlock exclusive rewards by becoming a patron today. What's up guys, Zero Skater here, and that's right, I'm back. It is time for a new unboxing, this time for the brand new Unmatched Adventure set for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Man, this set is exciting because Unmatched Adventures is awesome. As you know probably already, it's a co-op version of Unmatched, which is really cool for people out there who are into co-op. But you can also use all the characters in a competitive 1v1 or 2v2 or free-for-all or whatever crazy mode you want to be playing. So it's tons of content packed into this one box here, as we saw with Tales to Amaze. But this time, it's Ninja Turtles themed, and who isn't excited for that? This is going to be awesome. All the turtles look really cool. The art style is incredible. And on top of that, we have Shredder and Krang decks. So this is not only villains in the cooperative mode, but you can actually take these decks and use them in competitive 1v1 Unmatched. So we'll see if these guys can break the meta, but I don't know what they're all about. I have not seen any of this yet, but I am super excited to crack it open on camera with all you guys, and you get to see my first impressions of all the stuff. As always, I'll give my thoughts on everything as we go. So with that said, I'm super excited guys, but before we get into it, as always, be sure to attack that like button if you enjoy the video and subscribe for more Unmatched content. And let's not wait any longer, we'll jump right on in and crack open some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Alright, here we go, about to open the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Unmatched Adventures set. So, super exciting to have another Adventures. I'm glad that they are continuing on that series of the cooperative mode, because I think there are a lot of people out there who really enjoy that. And obviously the fact that we get new characters to use in 1v1s or 2v2s or whatever is also awesome. It's the best time to be an Unmatched fan. So let's take a look at the sweet panel art. We got Mikey with the pizza. That's awesome. I hope you all got your pizza right next to you as you're watching this video. You know, there's Leonardo. We got Donatello. And Raphael. I love this art style. I hope his whole deck looks like that, with kind of like the black and white with the red highlights, because that would just be so cool. But if we look at the back of the box here, cowabunga, dude. Time to check this out. We got Shredder and Krang as the big bad villains, and a couple of goons here for their sidekicks. And yeah, the four turtles. Looks like they all have sidekicks, but we'll get into all that in just a second. So just wanted to show that off, but let's take a look. Get this thing opened up. And what do we got in here? Some I don't know what this thing's all about. Keep this for future reference. This product is not a toy. That's new. Then we got a little pamphlet showing all the awesome new Unmatched and Restoration games. You know, Dark Tower, Crossbows and Catapults is really fun. Thunder Road, all good games. Check them out if you haven't already. We got the core rules that comes in every set. And then we got the specific rules for this set for the Ninja Turtles. So, take a quick look through this. I'm not going to read the character specifics as normal because I want to try them out first. But if you guys want to take a look at that stuff, you can pause the video if you want. But yeah, some really cool Ninja Turtle art. That is, I think, like a dream come true for any big TMNT fan. Like, I like Ninja Turtles, they're cool. I watched them a bit as a kid, but I was never like a die-hard fan or anything, so you know, I don't have as much of a connection as some of you out there might. Looking at you, Angel. But yeah, this has just got to be so cool for any big Ninja Turtles fan. We'll take a quick flip through
this rule book here, so if you guys, like I said, if you want to pause and read anything, you can, but I'm just mainly looking at the art. I like seeing all the characters with the unmatched art style. What is this, Mothman here? What the heck? Kind of a throwback to the old Unmatched Adventures. Special rules for Shredder. Special rules for Krang. This disgusting brain monster. I don't even remember Krang, honestly. I only remember Shredder because, like I said, I wasn't a gigantic TMNT fan, so my lore knowledge is lacking here. But yeah, there's that rule book. We got a bunch of dials and tokens here. Yeah, I don't know what all this is about, but you guys can take a look. Wow, many boards. Obviously, the co-op mode, requires a lot more components than just your standard deck and whatnot. So, there's all this cool stuff. And we get the map. What is the map? I always like seeing new maps. That's always a big new thing for me. Especially being a competitive player, I like to see what might alter the game in terms of map selection. But this is our map. I guess we can see it better if I move this box out of the way. Get a full view on it. Yeah, there you go. This is, what, New York City? Very cool. Got all the different districts here, Manhattan and the Bronx and Queens and all that. So that's cool. Is it a different map on the other side? I have no idea. Yes, it is, of course, for the Krang map. This one is Technodrome. I have no idea what that means, but it looks like some factory of sorts. But yeah, cool stuff here. So I don't think when you play these like competitively 1v1s or whatever, I don't think there's any gimmicks to them. I think they're just standard layout maps, but obviously there's gimmicks when it comes to the cooperative version. So we'll see what those are all about. Styrofoam, huh? Wow. All right, let's first take a look at the minis. So we got Michelangelo here. I'm gonna really embarrass myself if I call one of these turtles the wrong name. I'm gonna get roasted in the comments, but look at that, slice of pizza in hand on the skateboard with the nunchucks. Love it. Very cool. That's a great mini. And then we got Raphael. Looks like he's on a rooftop with the, what do you call those, size or whatever. Very cool. I love the details, like, in the shell and everything. These are great minis. So, there's Raphael, and we got Leonardo with the swords. He looks, I don't know, very angry. What's at his feet? What is that little, like, robot alligator looking thing? I'm sure some of you guys out there know. I have no idea what that is. And we got Donatello. Is that a boombox down there? That's cool. This guy's all about gadgets, as far as I know. He's the smart one of the bunch. So, very cool. Awesome minis. What else do we got? We got a lot of cards and stuff here. Let's let me remove this plastic stuff so you can see the card backs a little bit better. This is Michelangelo. Love it. The nunchucks make an M. Very cool card back. April O'Neil as the sidekick for Mikey. So I love the orange with the green, like, accents. Obviously they all got to have some green to them, but yeah, very cool. Michelangelo, then we'll do Raphael. I imagine there's like more minis and stuff even underneath this first tray for like the villains and all that. So we got a lot of stuff to look at. I guess I gotta speed it up or you guys are gonna get too bored and click away, right? And then I'm gonna lose points for the algorithm. So here is the card back for Raphael. And Casey Jones is the sidekick. Very cool. Next up, Leonardo. The leader of the bunch, right? You know him well. At least I think that's how it goes. Alright. Love the blue color. Looks great. Got Master Splinter as the sidekick. Love that. Very cool. And then we got, last but not least, Donatello. If I had to guess which deck I would like the most, without really knowing anything about any of the cards, and just based on theme, I'm gonna guess that Donatello will be my favorite. A, he's purple, and purple is my favorite color. B, gadgets are cool, and I think there's a lot of cool room for unique mechanics in the game with something like that. So you got sidekick Metalhead. I'm guessing that is just a kind of like Metal Sonic type thing, mechanical version of a turtle, but I have no idea. We got another little deck of cards here. I'm not sure what these are. It says Technodrome Trap. Are these like the little villain decks or something? I don't know. We got Technodrome Traps. We got, oh yeah, Initiative cards. Are these all initiative cards? Holy cow, there's a million of them. Why are there so many? I don't know how this game works, so we'll just flip through these. Maybe, I don't know. I can go through these. I'm not going to know what they all do until I play it, so maybe I'll go over them again later. At least show them off so you can see them all, at the very least. But let's move on for now, because I want to show you guys all this stuff so I can go play. We got a million rivets here. We got a big bag of tokens. We got some die here. It's got just normal die. No, it's got an X on it, so there's no 6. Got an X in place of the 6, but that die will be used for something. I'm assuming that goes there. Oh yeah, here we go. Minis. Here is Shredder. Very cool. Again, I love the purple accent on the cape. His claw things are super cool. All the spikes on his armor and his helmet. That's awesome. Really like that mini. And then what, we got Krang. This thing is just so comical to me. Like, you have this disgusting brain head blob in this like sumo wrestler looking mech. This thing's ridiculous. Does this come out? Yeah, it looks like it might come out. Like, if you, I don't know, it jiggles around in there. Maybe you can get the little brain to come out, but I'm not gonna mess with that now. What is this? This is a deck of, these are probably the actual villain decks. Before, those were the initiative cards and whatnot. So this has got to be actual villain decks. Wingnut, I guess, is one of the like henchmen dudes. You got Slash. This is a cool looking one. I like how they all get their own card backs. You got Rat King. I don't remember in the first adventures if the minion dudes had card backs. I haven't played adventures all that much, honestly. I'm gonna be real. Shout out to Rat. If you're watching this, Rat, here's the Rat King for you. So that's cool. We got Leatherhead. That's Crocodile. Really like that one. Or it's an alligator. I don't know. Bebop and Rocksteady. This is really cool too. Like the dynamic duo. And then, oh, here's Mothman. Baxter Stockman. And then Krang. and Shredder. Last but not least, certainly. So these are all cards for their decks. Like I said, I could flip through these, I guess, later after I actually play, but I'm not gonna like review all of the co-op cards and stuff because that's just too much. I will review the actual playable decks, but we have some tokens. They're double-sided, so you got just like a purple little flame thingy on one side, which seems like it's off, and this is kind of on, where you got the fire in the background. So there's a bunch of these little tokens. What else do we got? This is like the sidekick token for Metalhead. It is the same on both sides, so that's Donatello's sidekick. We have April O'Neil for Michelangelo. We have, who's this? Casey Jones was the name for Raphael. And what's the last one? Oh yeah, it's Master Splinter. Here is Master Splinter for Leonardo. Cool. And then the tokens for the dudes. We got, I don't know who's who. I'm guessing that was, I think his name was Slash. This looks like, it's got to be the Rat King, I'm assuming. Got a little rat in there. Can be Squirrel Girl's best friend, I guess. Leatherhead, I think the name was. That's cool. Here's Mothman here. Really got downgraded into a simple henchman token rather than a full-blown villain. This is the Bebop and Rocksteady. This one looks really cool actually, with the cut down the middle with one on each side. So that's cool. What else we got? One more here. This is I don't know who the heck this is. This is like some Batman freak. I don't know. Yeah, obviously it's Wingnut. Okay, I don't know who that is, but yeah. And then we have some kind of little blank hexagon token. And then yeah, just a bunch more of these. So that's everything that came in the box. I think, right? Let's make sure there's nothing hidden from us. No, doesn't look like it. But we can take a look at the inside panels. This is awesome, seeing kind of a montage of the different henchmen. Really cool. I think it's just, okay, it duplicates it. Alright. Cool. A lot of cool stuff in this box, so I'm going to go play it. I think I'm going to actually try the cooperative mode, and then maybe I can speak on that, as well as maybe try and give some thoughts on the decks in the context of a 1v1. But yeah, I'm excited to try it out, and then I can flip through all the like villain cards and everything quickly before we actually do the deck reviews. But yeah, give me a little bit. I'm gonna go try this out. Can't wait, and I will be back to talk more about it in just a bit. Don't worry guys, I did not forget about Shredder and Krang. We are gonna open these as well, but I doubt there's really any minis or anything other than cards in here based on the shape and whatnot. We'll see. Maybe it'll surprise me, but yeah, let's take a quick look at this little box. Shredder versus Krang. So these are actual decks to play with the villains. So yeah, that's really cool. And we got a couple of little art panels there. There's Krang with his big sumo suit. Here it is again, which means, yep, Shredder must be on the other side. And we got the copyright stuff on the bottom again. So let's open this up real quick. See what is all in here. We got a deck, 2 decks, and what is this? Health dials and rivets, and that's it. Okay. So rivets. Take a look at the health dials. There's the fronts. Here's the backs. Oh, that's kind of cool. So we got those, and then this little insert thingy, and set rules. So we will open this up real quick. Here is Krang and what he is all about. I'm not actually reading this, I'm just showing it to you guys. And then Shredder, so you can see all of that good stuff. And then take a quick look at these. I think they're the same card backs as the ones that we saw from before. But let's just make sure. To be a true unboxing, I gotta show you literally everything, right? Okay. Here is Krang. Yep, looks like the same. Here's the front. Not reading that yet. Here's Shredder. Very cool. Oh, he actually gets a sidekick. Look at that. Bebop and Rocksteady are sidekicks for Shredder. That's really cool. I didn't expect that. Not at all. So, wow, very cool. All right. Well, there's that for you. I will be back and we'll go over the decks in just a bit. All right, guys. So here we are with the first deck. We're gonna go over Michelangelo. So, what is he all about? Well, Michelangelo has the sidekick April O'Neil. Mikey is melee with 14 health. April is ranged with 6 health. And he is move 3. Ability Pizza Party. After you attack or scheme, draw a card. Your starting and maximum hand size is 3. Holy cow, what an ability that is. That is going to drastically change the game here. I mean, think about Bloody Mary, how like scary it is to go down to 3 cards because you're trying to get that payoff of the extra action. But Mikey is always constrained to 3 cards no matter what, and that's just insane. So it's going to be really weird playing with him. You're going to feel like you have barely any cards in hand at all times, because that'll be true, which is ridiculous. But anytime you attack or scheme, you get to draw an extra card. So as long as you have at least 1, maybe 2 defenses, you're still okay, you know, making attacks, because hopefully you'll draw into more attacks or more defenses. You're really going to have to rely on that ability drawing you cards to have any form of safety, I guess, with this deck. If you just sit back and you just keep getting attacked, well, let's say you have 3 cards in hand, you get attacked, you play a defense, you're down to 2. If you get double attacked, you're down to 1, and that's even if you could defend both. And then you're going to be probably forced to double maneuver away. I guess you could go for an attack and just hope to draw, because attacking and maneuvering is the same amount of card draw. But you might be able, you might need to put that distance between you and your opponent to have some safety. But at least you're move 3. So I don't know. This is a crazy ability. I cannot wait to see how this one plays out. But let's take a look at the rest of the deck. So first card we see is Boisterous Beatdown. So there's 3 copies. It's a red 2. After combat, gain an action. If you won the combat, gain 2 actions instead. So this is some really awesome action gain. It's like a very weak Jeet Kune Do at baseline, but if you win the combat, which is unlikely, granted, because it's only a 2, but if you do, you're going to gain 2 actions instead. So I think you're going to try to land this undefended, and that'll be your most reliable way to get the 2 actions. So you can go for some crazy combos, but you've got to remember, any attack in this deck also has the draw card ability tacked on because of his hero ability. So drawing a card, gaining an action, this is quite a good combo card, especially with 3 copies in the deck. Next up, we're going to see Haya. So after combat, deal a damage to an adjacent opposing fighter. You may put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck to gain an action. So this is really cool. First of all, it's a strong attack, being a red 4. You get to deal an auto damage to an adjacent opponent, so that is really great. It's a pseudo 5, I guess, in a way. And you can gain an action by putting a card from hand on bottom of your deck. So a pseudo 5 that is action gain is insanely strong, and there's 3 copies of this in the deck. It also has a 3 boost value, which is great, but it does have the cost of putting a card on bottom of deck to gain the action. But at least you're not losing that card, right? You're only temporarily losing it to the bottom of the deck, but you will draw back into it later on. So that's pretty nice. I think this card is incredibly strong. Next up, we're going to see Turtle Power. During combat, you may boost this attack. So it's just a Medusa second shot, essentially. There's 2 copies in the deck, which is nice. It's got a 3 boost itself, so if you don't want to do this twice, you could boost the other copy away for a 6. We saw Haya is also a 3 boost, so that's more potential 6s. So that's really nice, and you are going to make up for boosting by your ability drawing you an extra card. So It is risky to boost when you only have 3 cards max in hand, but at least you get to draw another card to make up for it. So 2 copies of this in the deck is nice. And we're going to see Heroes in a Half Shell next. So this is a blank blue 5. This is an incredibly strong defense card, one of the best in the game. 2 copies of this, you'll love to see it. And really funny, they got the little theme song lines here, Heroes in a Half Shell, Turtle Power. So we're going to see that is a recurring theme among the turtles, which is really cool. And next up we have Back for Seconds, a blue 2. After combat, shuffle 2 random cards from discard pile back into your deck. 2 copies of this means up to 4 cards recurred from your discard pile. That's insanely strong recursion. They go back into the deck as well, so if you're worried about fatigue, I know your ability is drawing you a lot of cards, but this will definitely help prevent you from decking out too quickly. This card is really, really strong. It's not a great defense value, but its effect is very good. Next up we have Guaranteed Delivery. This is the first versatile, 3, and immediately you may put a card from your hand on bottom of your deck to cancel all effects on your opponent's card. After combat, if your hand is empty, draw 2 cards. So this is essentially the feint of the deck, but you have to put a card from hand on bottom to get that cancel. But then it's a super feint because it's a 3 instead of a 2, so that's really nice. There's 3 copies, which is great. After combat, though, if you do empty your hand with this, you get to draw 2. So it's not going to screw you too hard if, you only have 2 cards in hand when you defend with this and you feel the need to cancel. You go empty-handed, but you at least get to draw 2 right away. So if you need to defend again against a second attack that turn, you hopefully will be drawing into more defense. And again, this is not permanently losing you a card, it's just putting it on bottom, so that helps even out the fatigue threat from your ability drawing you cards. So this is a really, really nice card here. Next up we have Cowabunga. During combat, add +1 to this card's value for each other card you played this turn. It's a blank 3, well not blank, but baseline 3, so adding +1 for every other card you played is pretty nice. I think you could easily get this up to a 5, because you have things with action gain like Boisterous Beatdown and Hiya. So those allow you to gain actions and then play this at the end of an action chain for a really big attack. On defense, this is less good because it's a blank 3, essentially, if you play it on the first defense of the turn. But if they are double attacking you, this is a nice max value block at a 4 if you've defended previously in the turn. So I think this card is pretty versatile and very strong potentially. Next up, we're going to see Versatile 3, Let's Go. After combat, move a friendly up to 3 spaces. So it's essentially a dash from Medusa's deck, but a little bit better because you can move a friendly, not just Michelangelo. So it could be you or April, and either of you guys can play this card. So I think this is quite a good card because dash is already pretty decent, and this is even better. And then we're going to see Nunchaku. So Nunchaku is coming back from Bruce Lee's deck, and you just add +1 to the value of Michelangelo's attacks this turn, and you gain an action. So this is going to combo really well with Cowabunga because automatically you're giving everything a +1, and this is a card you've played, and you gain an action, and you draw a card off of this because of your ability. Remember, it's attacking and scheming, not just attacking. So you are going to gain the action and draw off Nunchaku, and that could make a massive Cowabunga. If you play this, let's say first, then you do, let's say, a Hiya for a 5 with an auto damage. That's already really strong. And then you gain the action off of that by putting a card to the bottom. And then you Boisterous Beatdown to gain an action. And it's also bumped to a 3. Then you play a Cowabunga. You've played 3 cards previous, so it's up to a 6. Plus you get the one from Nunchaku, makes it a 7. And meanwhile, you're drawing cards throughout all this. So Nunchaku, I think, has some crazy potential in this deck. And it's going to make for some ridiculous combo turns. Next scheme, we're going to see Michelangelo is a party dude. Each friendly fighter recovers 1 health. 2 copies of this in the deck. This isn't a fantastic scheme, I don't think, because at best in a 1v1, you're going to have you and your sidekick each heal 1, which is fine, but that's not like a significant amount of healing. This is also not a pass because you don't get passes in Michelangelo's deck because every scheme draws you a card, so you're going to heal, you're going to draw. I mean, maybe it's okay, but I think you'd really only want to play this if it's going to get you out of like a confirmed lethal range. But it's a fine card. Then we're going to see a couple of April cards. Hard-hitting investigation is a 0 value attack. After combat, deal a damage to the opposing fighter and gain an action. It's a 3 boost, so if you want to boost it with turtle power, you can. It's got 3 copies, and it's a really good bait attack. If they're attacking with April, they almost can guarantee that it is the 0, because the only other things she would be attacking with are Guaranteed Delivery, which you're probably using on defense more often than not, or Let's Go, which is just a 3. So, like, they might just take it undefended. But even in that case, I mean, you're still going to deal the auto damage, you're still going to gain the action, and you're still going to draw the card, because that ability triggers on either fighters attacking, not just Michelangelo. So it's a pretty good card overall. And, you know, if people start taking too many attacks undefended from April, then you can start throwing in Let's Go for a 3 damage to the face, which is really nice. So got a little bit of a mind game there. So pretty good card here. And last but certainly not least, we're going to see Shell Insertion. So April's Scheme, there's 2 copies. It's also a 3 boost. If she dies off early, then you can boost this for turtle power. But you get to choose 2 different effects. And those options are: each opponent discards a card, move a friendly fighter up to 2 spaces, put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck to gain an action, or shuffle 2 random cards from your discard pile back into your deck. I think all these options are very strong. You got to also remember that you're going to be drawing a card after you play this. So recurring 2 random cards from discard pile back to deck is really going to help you out with fatigue once again. Opponent discarding cards is great because you're also going to draw a card, so then the hand disparity gets even bigger. You can move a friendly fighter if you need to, so it can be sort of an aggressive card if you want to move and then gain the action. If you're going for like a big combo turn, it can help set you up for that, even if you didn't start the turn adjacent. So I think this card just does a lot of different things really well, and the versatility is going to be huge. So you're definitely going to want to keep April alive to get value out of both copies of this. And overall, Michelangelo looks like a ton of fun. Super unique ability, maxing you out at 3 cards in hand. That's going to be really fun to play around. It's going to be really awkward at first, but I think if you can master him and his ability, he's going to be quite strong because his combo potential is kind of insane. But yeah, that is Michelangelo for you. Alright, next up we're going to see Raphael. So, Raphael is really cool. He's got my favorite art out of all the turtles by far, as you'll see. But he is a move 2 melee fighter with 17 health, and the sidekick Casey Jones, who is ranged with 8 health, so pretty beefy, both hero and sidekick here. Special ability is Anger Issues. On each of your turns, the first time you lose combat, gain an action. This is really strong, so if you win the combat, cool, you dealt damage. If you lose the combat, well, you gain an action and you can make another attack. So definitely some more combo potential here with Raphael, which is really nice. This is mandatory action gain, so if you're worried about fatigue, there might be some points during the later game where you don't necessarily want to gain the action, so just be careful of that. But most often, I think this is just a really, really strong ability. So let's take a look at what he's got in deck. First card being Unbridled Rage. So a 3 value attack, 4 boost value, which is huge. During combat, discard any number of defense or versatile cards, add +2 to this value for each card discarded this way. 2 copies of this. It's kind of like the Forever Hide of the deck. They have to be defense or versatiles that you're discarding, so that means like you're probably going defenseless after you want to throw a big Unbridled Rage, so you want to use this as a finisher more often than not. But it is, you know, during combat, so you get to see what they play before you decide how much you want to boost this up, if any. And hey, if like they play a, let's say a 5 value defense or something, and you're like, well, great, I'd have to discard 2 cards to even deal any damage. Maybe you think that's not worth, you can just choose not to discard any, and then you'll lose the combat, gain an action, and maybe you have another copy of this that you can throw to go for a finisher over a weaker defense value. So this is a crazy strong card. I think it being a 4 boost is also crazy because you'll see turtle power again coming back. So, you know, boosting up to a 7 is insane. But let's take a look at the next card called Let's Do This. 1 value attack. After combat, draw a card. If you won the combat, draw 2 instead. So essentially, it's a purely offensive regroup, which actually in this deck is really nice because you're probably going to lose the combat from this, and then you will draw a card and gain an action. So it's a really, really good bait attack to bait out their big defense. You know, if they're expecting the Unbridled Rage, they defend big, but you threw this, you laugh at them, you draw your card, gain your action, and then you throw the real attack after they don't have any more good defenses left. So great bait attack. It's also got a 3 boost value, so again, if you want to boost with this, that's really strong as well. And 3 copies in the deck is pretty nice for the consistent mind games. And next, we're going to see Crowd Control, 2 value attack. After combat, draw a card for each adjacent opposing fighter, and deal a damage to each of those fighters. So this is really good against token sidekicks, things like Wukong or Electra or Muldoon, you know, all those fighters we love. It's good at clearing out those pesky token sidekicks. You are going to draw potentially a lot of cards. It depends on the situation, right? And sometimes drawing those cards might be really, really good. It might be exactly what you needed and absolutely game-winning. Other times it might push you towards fatigue when you really didn't want to, so you're going to have to be careful. But because this is an attack card, you get to choose always when you want to be throwing this. And if it's not a good time to do it, then position differently, right? Because most likely you can reposition before you throw this attack to where you draw the appropriate amount of cards that you want to be drawing. And then getting the kind of AoE auto damage is really nice for token matchups. So I think this is a pretty good card overall. And then here's Turtle Power making its comeback. Like I said, same card, 3 value attack. During combat you can boost it. All the turtles have this 3 value boost as well, which is really nice. But being able to bump this to a 7 with Unbridled Rage is really nice, or even a 6 with Let's Do This if you don't want more bait attacks. So this is a really strong one to have. And same thing, if they play like a 5 and you could only get it to a 6 and you think it's not worth it, just don't boost it and then gain your action from your ability and then throw another attack. So really good. And Heroes in a Half Shell, of course, 5 value blank defense. Can not complain about something like that. Next up, we're going to see Psy. This is a cool comeback from Electra's deck. It's just a blank 4 versatile, but that's perfectly fine. I mean, it's a max value block, which is great, and that gives you a lot of good defenses because you have this and Heroes in a Half Shell for quality blocks. So really good. It's less good on offense, but a 4 is like fine if, you know, it's a good feint punish for 2 damage over a feint. So it's a pretty decent card overall. Next up is Relentless. This card's actually crazy. 3 value versatile, but after combat you shuffle this card into your deck and then draw a card. So it's not necessarily giving you extended deck count because you're going to draw even though you're shuffling this in, but it still is extra value throughout the course of a game because you are recurring this card and you could use it over and over and over and over. So this card is insane. Having a recurring 3 value defense is really, really good, and you can attack with this really well too because, you know, if they defend high, you still draw a card, you gain an action, this shuffles back in. You're really happy about that. So unless you attack with this into a feint, then you're sad because you only dealt 1 damage and you don't get the recursion. That's pretty sad. But this, I think, is a fantastic defense and not a bad attack as well. Next up, we're going to see Payback Time. During combat, if you lost a combat this turn, this card's value is 5 instead. So it's kind of like the momentous shift of the deck in a weird way. It's only a printed 2 instead of 3, so it's not good at punishing feints or confirming kills on like token sidekicks, because if they feint this, they do live, whereas momentous shift almost confirms it always. But anyways, still really strong card. You know, you got plenty of bait attacks, like we said. You throw Let's Do This or Crowd Control, and they defend. Most likely you lose the combat, so you gain the action, and then you throw this as a follow-up, and it's a 5. So that is really strong. It's also really good if you get double attacked, because you can play this as your second defense, and you have yet another defensive 5, which is just insane. And there's 3 copies of this in the deck, so that's a lot of really quality blocks for Raphael. Next up is Break Something, 2 value versatile. Immediately cancel all during combat and after combat effects on your opponent's card. After combat, if no effects were canceled this way, deal 2 damage to an adjacent opposing fighter. So this is kind of like your feint. It's a little bit worse because it doesn't cancel immediately effects, but most of the time that is irrelevant. And this is also really cool because if you defend with this expecting to cancel something and they threw a big blank value attack like a log or a hunter's eye or something, then that hurts, right? Normally you're really sad to feint into those cards, But at least if that were the case with this one, you get to deal 2 auto damage back as kind of a consolation right there. So I think this is a really good defensive card. On offense, it's pretty good as well because you're likely to cancel whatever sneaky effects they were trying to get on defense, and you also will most likely gain the action because it's only a 2. So really good card there. And then next we're going to see the first scheme. Raphael is cool but rude. Deal 1 damage to each opposing fighter adjacent to at least 1 friendly fighter and draw a card. This is yet another great AoE card for clearing token sidekicks. It's each opposing fighter that's adjacent to at least 1 friendly, so like you can spread out Raphael and Casey Jones and ping multiple dudes in a single scheme. You draw a card to make up for it, so this is not a pass, but it is good for keeping up hand count. And I think this is a good scheme to have. It's a great utility in certain matchups. Last, we're going to see a couple of Casey cards. This first one is nothing special. It's called Batter Up, 3 value attack. After combat, if you won the combat, move the opposing fighter up to 3 spaces. So this one, really nothing crazy. You're not likely to win with only a 3. Moving the opposing fighter 3 spaces is like not a huge deal most often, even if you do pull this off. So I don't know. It's kind of mediocre, only a 2 boost, so it's not great. You got 3 copies in the deck, which is a little bit of a bummer, I would say. But all things considered, you do gain the action with Casey Jones if you lose combat. So that makes this not so bad because it's kind of like a Jeet in a way. You know, if they defend, you probably lose combat, you get to gain the action and make a second attack. If they don't defend, I mean, cool, then you dealt damage and you get to move them, which is really nice. So all things considered, it's actually not a terrible card. And then we're going to see Slapshot, which is really good. So during combat, if Casey is adjacent to the opposing fighter, this card's value is 6 instead. So this card is an insane value block against melee matchups for Casey if you need to keep him alive, but it's an even better attack, of course, because again, if you lose the combat, like if they feint this, you still gain the action. And if they don't feint it, it's probably a 6. And that's really, really strong, and you have 3 copies. So that is some huge damage output from Casey Jones here. So Slapshot, gotta love it. And that is Raphael for you. So he's not as crazy with combos as like Michelangelo is, but he does have some really devastating attacks, and gaining an action here and there just to make a follow-up attack after you throw a bait and you follow up with like the big heavy hitter like a Turtle Power Boosted or an Unbridled Rage for lethal or whatever it may be, like a slap shot, is going to be really devastating. So I think Raphael, he's tanky, Casey Jones is tanky, Casey's ranged even, so there's good utility there. Yeah, I think there's just going to be a lot of just strong things Raphael can do. He seems kind of like a Bigfoot-esque fighter where he's just got good values, good card effects. He can deal with token sidekicks with the AoE effects, and I don't know that he can really play fatigue, but I don't think he really needs to as well because he's got so much damage. It looks like he can probably just kill you. So he's going to be a really fun beatdown fighter, but that is Raphael. Alright, next up is going to be Leonardo. So I really love the coloring on this one. The card back looks so nice with the blue and the green. So Leonardo is a 16 health melee fighter, move 2, got Master Splinter as the sidekick, also melee with 9 health, so very beefy sidekick. Both of them are pretty beefy. Ability is Team Tactics. At the start of your turn, you may move any fighter 1 space. So that is any fighter, friendly or enemy fighter. You can move yourself, you can move one of your opponents. So that's a pretty nice ability. It kind of makes him a pseudo move 3 if you're trying to make attacks. And also if you're trying to put distance in between you and get away, it's even better for that because you can push your opponent away. You might also be able to move the opponent into like pin scenarios if you wanted to. So it's a very simple but effective ability for Leonardo. Well, let's take a look at his deck. First card is going to be Fearless Leader. It's a 3 value red, 3 copies, 2 boost. During combat, add +2 to this card's value for each other friendly fighter adjacent to the opposing fighter. In a 1v1, this is not that great. I mean, it is kind of like a momentous shift in a way, because if you can get both Leo and Splinter adjacent when you attack with this, it is going to be a 5, which is pretty good. I mean, honestly, a 5, like 3 that bumps to a 5 is pretty good. In like a 2v2 or a co-op mode, this is actually insane, because you have many more friendly fighters, and this could be easily a 7 or even a 9, you know, depending on the situation. This can get huge. So Fearless Leader in a 1v1 is decent. Fearless Leader in other team modes is crazy. Next up, we're going to see Katana, just like a log from Bigfoot. Just a big blank 6. 2 copies of this in the deck. You'll love to see it. Of course, it's his signature weapon with the Katana. So this card's really cool, really good, obviously. Next up is Force Sensei. 4 value attack. After combat, move both fighters in the combat up to 1 space each. You may discard a card to gain an action. This card's pretty nice because a 4 value attack is fine, and the after combat is pretty good. You get to move both fighters up to 1 space each. So even if they defended with, let's say, a skirmish, they won the defense, they got 2 spaces away, well, you get to move each of you up to 1 space. So you can close that 2 space gap by moving you each 1 space closer to each other once again, and put yourself back into adjacency so that you can discard the card and gain the action. So Force Sensei is a pretty nice attack. Discarding to gain the action is a little costly, but we'll see if that matters too much. But 2 copies of this is pretty nice. Then we see Turtle Power, of course. During combat, you may boost this card. Very strong. Following up, of course, Heroes in a Half Shell. Gotta love that. 5 value defense. This one's a 3 boost. So if you want to boost it with Turtle Power, you could. I wouldn't recommend that. I think there's much better to boost with. But hey, if you have to, you have to. Next up is Wise Beyond His Years, 2 value versatile. After combat, if the opposing fighter is in fewer zones than Leonardo, deal 2 damage to the opposing fighter. So this card's kind of like Jaws of the Beast from Yananga, where it gets better with the more zones that you are in. Jaws gets better for more zones the opponent is in. This one gets better for more zones you are in, because if you're in more zones, you get the 2 auto damage. So a 2 value versatile that deals 2 auto damage is pretty dang good. It doesn't care about adjacency, it only cares about the number of zones each fighter is in, which of course movement effects after combat could influence that if you're using this on attack, but if you're using this on defense, you're most likely to get the effect as long as you set yourself up to where they have to approach you with a space of fewer zones. So 3 copies of this in the deck is pretty decent. Next up, we have I Have a Plan. Immediately, you may discard a card. If you do, cancel all effects on your opponent's card and ignore its value. So this is the feint of the deck. It does cost you a card you have to discard in order to get the cancel, but it also adds the ignore value to it, which is really nice. So if you use this on offense, you can almost guarantee 2 damage to go through as long as they don't feint this. And if you use it on defense, you can guarantee that you're not going to take any damage at all because you'll cancel the effects and ignore value as long as you have the card in hand to discard. So 3 copies of this in the deck, and it's an any, so both fighters can use it. This is really good. And then next up we see Quick Strike. This is simply a snipe from Medusa, just 3 value versatile. After combat, draw a card. But it's a 3 boost, so you can use this for Turtle Power, which is really nice, and it's a fine card. Next up we're going to see Eat, Sleep, and Breathe Ninjutsu. This is kind of like a throwback to Electra's ninjutsu card that the hand get to use. So after combat, you place each fighter adjacent to your fighter in another space in their zone. So instead of warping yourself, you warp adjacent fighters, which is pretty nice. Like if you're defending with this, it's a combo breaker because you can push the opponent away. Maybe you can set it up to where you could move Splinter or have Splinter move Leo, vice versa, you know, if you put them adjacent to each other. But overall, this card is just kind of a combo breaker. You could kind of look at it as a weird version of a dash, which is like a fine card, but nothing crazy. Next up, we have Leonardo Leads the First Scheme. Move each friendly fighter up to 3 spaces and draw a card. I think actually activating this is pretty bad. It's like getting a maneuver with 1 extra movement on it, but you have to move before you draw, which is actually a bigger downside, I think, than you get a upside, because you could just maneuver and then boost instead of using this. So I don't think you ever really want to play this in a 1v1. Now in a like team or co-op mode, sure, this gives you a lot more options and a lot more cool things you can do with it by moving every friendly fighter. But in a 1v1, I think you never want to activate this. You'd always just want to rather boost your maneuver instead. And if you look, it's got a 4 boost value. So this is the perfect card to boost with Turtle Power. You get 2 7s in the deck. Like Medusa has 3 7s, at least you get 2 7s, which is pretty nice. So this is definitely a boost fodder in 1v1. Then we're going to see a couple of Splinter cards, which are actually pretty good. So Spatial Awareness is a 3 value versatile. After combat, if the opposing fighter is in fewer zones than Splinter, deal a damage to the opposing fighter and draw a card. So yet another thing that cares about the zones, which obviously your ability, Team Tactics, moving fighters can play into that. So you can set up some auto damage and card draw with this. Otherwise, it's just a blank 3, which is very mediocre, but it is a 3 boost, so if Splinter goes down early, you have this to boost with. Even if he doesn't go down early, if you just don't want to use it or don't feel the need to use it, then yeah, 3 boost for Turtle Power is pretty nice. And then this next one is really strong, actually. Protective Father. Splinter may swap spaces with another friendly. If he does, they both recover 2 health, and then you gain an action. 2 copies of this in the deck is a lot of healing, so that can give Leonardo up to 20 health and Splinter up to 13, which is a pretty huge health pool. You do have to keep Splinter alive in order to do this, but he's got plenty of health and a decent amount of defenses that he can use, so I think that shouldn't be too hard, and I think this is a really nice scheme to have. So overall, I mean, Leonardo is very basic compared to the others that we saw so far, but I think he was kind of designed that way. He's like just the leader of the bunch. He's meant more so for co-op and team modes than 1v1s, because you can see all of his movement stuff. It really gets better when you have other teammates to move. Things like Leonardo leads actually become real cards to activate, and like his ability is nice too. Setting up pins in a 2v2 is huge. So in a 1v1, I think he's definitely on the weaker side, but he does have some pretty decent damage output. Like katanas are 6s, fearless leaders can get to be 5s. And then you have Turtle Power, which can boost up to a 7, so that's pretty nice. And then you have Ignores with I Have a Plan. So like, we saw these cards where you have to discard in order to get the effects, like the first Sensei, you have to discard to action gain, and I Have a Plan discards to ignore. Well, I think if you don't like these Splinter cards, you could easily just discard those. And I think either of these versatiles, like if you don't need the defenses, those are fine to discard as well. So there's plenty of discard fodder, I think, in the deck. I don't know if the deck is as bad as I've heard some people talk about. I think it looks okay, but it'll definitely shine in those team modes. So there you go, that is Leonardo. All right, here we go with the final turtle. Last but certainly not least is Donatello. This is I think this one's my favorite card back because purple's my favorite color. This just looks awesome, and Donatello is a really cool deck. So let's see what he's all about. He's a melee fighter with 14 health. He's got a sidekick Metalhead, who is also melee with 7 health. They are move 2, so not like the beefiest of guys, but ability is inventive. When you maneuver, you may draw 2 instead of 1, and then if you do, you put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. That is so cool. And then after you play an invention, tuck it under this card. We'll get into what that is in a minute. But man, this maneuver thing is so crazy. You get to filter through your deck and find all the good cards when you need them. So the consistency of this deck is going to be much higher than your average deck, because you don't even have to put one of those 2 cards that you drew on the bottom. You can put any card from your hand on the bottom. So it could be a card from your opening hand. When you take your opening maneuver, like you draw 2 really good cards, you can put like one of the weaker cards that started in your opening hand on the bottom. And that card filtering every single maneuver is just going to be huge. And it's also a May, so if you're down to 1 card in deck, you're not forced to do the draw 2, so you're not going to take unnecessary fatigue damage at the end. So I just love this ability. I think the consistency is going to be awesome, and that'll be a lot of fun to play with. And then, okay, what are these inventions all about? After you play an invention, tuck it under this card. Well, that is the main gimmick of Donatello, which is a really cool one. So he's got 3 cards. These 3 right here. They're very purpley, and they are inventions, okay? So after you play them, you tuck it under the hero card, and then you'll get this bottom ability ongoing for the rest of the game. So what do the cards actually do? Well, the first one is Electro Grenade, 2-value attack. During combat, remove up to 4 attack or versatile cards in your discard pile from play, and then add +1 to this card's value for each card removed. Now, when you remove them from play, it means essentially put them back in the box. Like, they are not in the game anymore. They're totally gone. They're banished. So this could be up to a 6 if you play it later in the game, which is a pretty nice attack. But obviously, the earlier you play it, the better, because then you get this ongoing effect, which adds +1 to the value of your attacks for the entire rest of the game, which is insane. You know, you're like Angry Achilles. Obviously, it's only +1 instead of +2, but you'll see there's other cool inventions that are really, really strong. So Electro Grenade is insane. It's got a 3 boost, but I don't see why you'd ever want to boost with this card. You're going to want to play it so you get that passive bonus to all your attacks the rest of the game. And I like how you can buff it up during combat if you end up drawing this later in the game. Like I said, earlier is better because then you get more duration of the buff, but if you happen to draw it late, then you probably have loaded up your discard pile, and you can throw a big 6 and then get the buff for the rest of the game. So Electro Grenade is awesome. The next one we're going to see is very similar and equally as awesome, Self-Defense Grid. So after combat, remove up to 4 defense or versatiles from your discard pile, and you heal that much health. So upwards of heal 4 if you draw this later in the game, but if you play it earlier, obviously you want to, because then you get to add +1 to the value of your defenses for the rest of the game. So it makes sense, right? The attack one adds permanent attack buff, the defense one adds permanent defense buff. They both have a benefit if you happen to draw them later on in the game by removing cards that you have played thus far in order to get a big effect. So those are really strong. And then we're going to see the Smoke Bomb is the scheme version. So remove up to 4 scheme cards in your discard pile from the game, and you gain that many actions. And then whenever you play a scheme, you gain an action for the ongoing. So this is kind of like Titania's Glamour, where you gain the action after playing a scheme, which is really nice for combos. So if you play this early, you get that ongoing effect. If you play it late, it can be a massive, massive combo card where you could gain 4 actions off of this card and then just go to town and try to win with a big combo turn. So Smoke Bomb, so cool. Those are all 3 inventions, attack, defense, scheme, and they're just awesome, man. I cannot wait to play with this and see how those play out. Getting an extra attack and defense buff for the whole rest of the game seems absolutely ridiculous. So as we're going through these cards in deck, keep in mind that all the printed values could be essentially a +1, which is pretty crazy. And then his ability is going to help you find these inventions quicker so that you can get them online sooner than later. So that's really cool. So let's see what are the actual cards in the deck then. We have Thinking Ahead is a 3-value attack. After combat, if you won the combat, you put a card from your discard pile on bottom of your deck. Really nice recursion. There's 3 copies, which is nice. A 3 is not likely to win, but again, if you buff it to a 4 with your invention, then that's much more likely to win. So Thinking Ahead is really good card. Having 3 copies for some recursion is great. Next up is Turtle Power, of course. You can boost it. Really good card as well. And then we'll see his version of Heroes in a Half Shell. Again, 5-value defense. Gotta love it. And then next up, we're going to see Bow Staff. So after combat, deal a damage to an opposing fighter adjacent to Donatello and draw a card. So it's kind of like an Evade from Bloody Mary's deck, but it also adds on an auto damage, which is a pretty nice defense. And a 3 is not great, but again, it could be a 4, which is a fantastic defense. Then we're going to see Shift Focus. So after combat, move another fighter in Donatello's zone up to 3 spaces. They may move through other fighters. 2-value versatile. Not great, but if you get the defense buff, then it's a 3-value defense. And it's got an interesting movement effect. I think they all have some kind of movement effect because they want to play well in the co-op and team modes that they were kind of designed for. But moving another fighter in your zone up to 3, it is a combo breaker as long as the opponent is in your zone, and you can push them through other fighters, so it's pretty decent movement effect there. Next up is Short Circuit, 3-value versatile. Immediately cancel all after combat effects on your opponent's card. So this is the feint of the deck. It's kind of a super feint because it's a 3 instead of a 2. You can't cancel during combats or immediately's, which is unfortunate, but I still find most often that canceling after combat effects is good enough. It's just not good against cards that modify combat value like Momentous Shift or a Beast Form or things of that nature, but it is good against typically auto damage and movement effects and recursion, all of which are really powerful, so Short Circuit is really nice to have. Next up is Quick Strike. We saw this before in Leonardo, so just after combat, draw a card. It's just like the Snipe, it's fine, but again, you make this a 4-value max value block and all of a sudden it's really good. Then you have some schemes. So Donatello does machines. You and each other friendly player may return an attack, versatile, or defense card in the discard pile to their hand. Then you draw a card. And if you have played your scheme invention, you would also gain an action, so you could use that card you added back right away, which is really cool. It's you and each other friendly, so obviously it gets even more insane in team modes. And this can get anything back except for schemes, right? Attack, versatile, or defense, so really good recursion here. 3 boost as well if you wanted to boost with it for turtle power. Then we're going to see Party Wagon. So move a friendly fighter up to 5 spaces. They may move through opposing fighters. Then you deal 2 damage to an opposing fighter they moved through. This is essentially a Jackalope Horns. I'd say it's a little bit worse because Jackalope Horns has extended reach because it can move a full 5 and then deal the 2. This one has to move through somebody to deal the 2 damage. So you need to be within, 3 spaces, because then you could move 1, 2, the 3rd space would be on them, the 4th space would be through them. Well, I guess within 4 spaces. Like, there could be 3 empty spaces between you and the opponent, whereas there can be 5 empty spaces between you and Jackalope. So it's comparable, but Jackalope Horns is absolutely broken, so this card is very, very good. And getting to gain an action is really nice too. If you play this, you move through them, you deal 2 auto. Maybe you play 2 copies, deal 4 auto, and then make a big attack, maybe for a finisher. That's potential if you got the invention online, so that's really cool. And then lastly, we have a couple of Metalhead cards. So first one is 3 value versatile, untested enhancements. During combat, discard the bottom card of your deck, add its boost value to this card's value. So it's like a blind boost. Instead of the top of the deck, it's boosting off the bottom of the deck, which means it plays into something like thinking ahead. If you load up a high boost value to the bottom, like a 3 boost, then Metalhead can be throwing a guaranteed 6 because that card is going to stay at the bottom of the deck for a very long time. So you can pretty reliably, I think, set this up as long as you can win thinking ahead and then combo it into untested enhancements. And I believe that this attack buff applies to both Donatello and Metalhead. So this could be upwards of a 7, which is really, really strong. And 3 copies is kind of crazy. But you are kind of relying on pulling off thinking ahead in order to get it, so it does take some setup. And then last card, the Future of Ninjutsu. Look at the top card of any deck. You may put it on the bottom, draw a card, gain an action. So you could gain 2 actions with this, so it's kind of like a Master of the Hunt in a way if you have the Scheme Invention online. You also get to draw. You look at the top card of any deck, it could be yours or your opponent's, so if you're looking for disruption, like the opponent needs a specific key card to stay alive from a confirmed lethal, or they need a certain card to like get their own confirmed lethal on you, you know, you can use this kind of defensively to look at their deck and hopefully you find the card that you were looking for and you can bury it to the bottom. Otherwise, you could always do it on yourself and then set up for untested enhancements if it is a high boost value. That would be pretty nice. So pretty cool little scheme. And there you go. That's Donatello. I think he is one of the more unique characters because getting these passive buffs is really cool. We've seen characters like Sinbad and Achilles and whatnot get that stuff in the past, but this is a very different form of that passive buff fighter, and it's really unique. I cannot wait to play with this guy. He definitely looks like a lot of fun. Alright, so now we're going to get into the villains, the first one being Shredder. So really cool that they made the villains playable this time in an official capacity. But we're going to see Shredder is a melee fighter, 15 health, he's move 3, and now you have Bebop and Rocksteady as your sidekick, and they are 7 health melees. Ability is Master of the Clan. So at the start of your turn, deploy a foot soldier to a path adjacent to a friendly fighter. You may attack opposing fighters adjacent to foot soldiers. If an opponent boosts their maneuver, they may remove any foot soldiers their hero moves through. Okay, so it's very cool because it's similar to the co-op and what he does there by deploying the foot soldiers, and you put them on paths, so not on spaces, but they're just little tokens that go on the connecting black paths between spaces. And they are essentially like ranged attackers almost for you, so that's really cool. And the opponent has to boost to stomp them essentially as they travel over that path. So it's incentivizing your opponent to boost more, which is wasting value for them. And it's also only the foot soldiers that the hero moves through, not their sidekicks. So they can't just like wipe out all your dudes in one single maneuver. So that's really nice. But yeah, Shredder's looking pretty strong. Move 3 is already good, so it's some good stats. Seems like a good ability. Let's see what his deck's all about. First up, we see Swarming Strike. So during combat, add +1 to this card's value for each adjacent foot soldier. 3 copies is crazy. It's a 3 boost, which is really good. I love this art, how he's shredding right through the banner there. That's so cool. But man, a 5 value attack is already crazy, and this could easily get up to a 6+. because you deploy the foot soldier at the start of your turn adjacent to a friendly fighter. And so that means like you're probably pretty likely to be able to, if they come to attack you and they're melee, you can probably deploy a foot soldier and then attack with this right away as a 6, which is really, really strong. So this card is pretty crazy. Next up, we're going to see Savagery. This is making a return from Bigfoot's deck. It's the same card with new art. So after combat, if you won the combat, deal a damage to each fighter adjacent to your fighter. 3 copies of this in the deck is some really great offensive power there, and good for clearing out token sidekicks as well. Then we have a blue Masterful Defense. After combat, Shredder recovers a health for each adjacent foot soldier. This is really nice because I think it's much easier to get foot soldiers adjacent to yourself than it is to get them adjacent to the opponent, because the opponent can avoid them and you can kind of just hunker down near them, right? So I think it's pretty easy to get this to heal you for, I don't know, at least probably 2, which was pretty nice. And then next is All According to Plan. So after combat, your opponent gains an action. At the end of this turn, if they didn't play a scheme, they discard 2 cards. So at first you're like, oh man, a non-conditional Achilles heel, this seems horrible giving the opponent an action. Why would I ever want to do that? But you realize that that action is so that they have a chance to play a scheme to avoid having to discard 2 cards. So with that extra action, they either use it to play their scheme that they have, which it might not be a good time for them to play it, so that might be good for you, forcing them to play it there. Or they just discard 2 cards, which I think you're happy with no matter what. So I think this card is pretty strong. 3 value defense is fine, and it's a really interesting effect. Next up, we're going to see Disrupting Strike. So immediately, the value of your opponent's card is equal to its printed value and cannot be changed. So this is the same as Stasis Diffuser that we've seen in Jill Trent's deck. We know that's a very strong card because it stops all like boosting effects, damage modifiers. It's really, really good. It even stops things like Big Alice, or in the set, you know, Donatello's Inventions, which is really nice. Putting them back down to printed and not letting them change. Very strong defensive card here. Next up, Perplexing Tactics. Immediately cancel all effects on your opponent's card, so it's your feint. And then, if 10 or more foot soldiers are deployed, you also ignore that card's value. So I think that's very difficult to get 10 foot soldiers out because you only get 1 per turn, so 10 turns is kind of a lot already, and that's if the opponent hasn't been stomping over them by boosting. But if they are ignoring them, then you are going to get this card, which is insane. 3 copies of this also in the deck gives you 3 feints, which is great, and potential ignores, which is even better. So it does incentivize the opponent to stomp at least probably a couple of the foot soldiers, unless they want to be giving you this insanely powerful card. But even if you don't get the ignore, it's still your feint, and you got a 3 boost. It's got cool art where you slash them through the banner yet again. This card is just amazing. Alright, next up we see Master of the Foot. So 2 value versatile. After combat, deal a damage to each opposing fighter adjacent to a foot soldier. I don't think this one's all that good. It's good AoE, I will say that, right? This is your AoE card. It deals a damage to each opposing fighter adjacent to a foot soldier. So it's not like it's dealing multiple damage to anybody, but it can deal a damage to many different fighters as long as they're adjacent to the foot soldiers. So it helps pop those clones like from Wukong, or Harpies from Medusa, or whatever. Those annoying tokens. This will be good AoE. So it's a good tool to have. Next up, we see Long Shot. We've seen this before in Annie Christmas's deck with Charlie. I don't think that one's even Charlie specific. Maybe it is. I don't remember. But anyways, during combat, if the opposing fighter is not adjacent to your fighter, this card's value is 5 instead. So you might think, oh man, how are you ever going to do this on offense? You're not ranged. But remember, your ability lets you attack opposing fighters adjacent to foot soldiers. So you essentially can kind of attack from ranged if you've got the foot soldiers set up. And so that would make this a 5 on offense, which would be like your Momentous Shift, which is really, really strong. But also it can be a quality defense against ranged fighters like Medusa or Yananga, who are typically attacking you from ranged, and then you have a 5 value defense, which is awesome. And you get 3 copies of this in the deck, so that is quite strong. And then we see Obedient Subjects, the first scheme card. So gain an action for each foot soldier adjacent to Shredder. I think you would never activate this for a single action gain, because then you're just playing a card literally to do nothing. But if you have at least 2 foot soldiers adjacent, then this becomes a Master of the Hunt, and it could be even crazier. You might be able to gain 3 actions with this card, which is pretty ridiculous. But if you don't find that like you're getting good opportunities for combo turns and you don't need the action gain, then you can use the 3 boost value, which is pretty nice. And then we're going to see Back to Work. So this one says Bebop and Rocksteady recover 3 health, and even if they're defeated, and then you place them in a space as close as possible to Shredder. So this card is insane. It's guaranteed 3 healing on your sidekicks. Even if they're defeated, you resurrect them and give them 3 health. And so that's like the resurrect card that Willow has. And we haven't seen anybody with an effect like that since. So this is just crazy strong. Your sidekicks are completely disposable because you can bring them back no matter what. You can always heal them 3 with this card. It's just ridiculous. So it's a pass as well. It's great value. It's good for setting up a meat shield. It's just, that card is insane. And then we're going to see some Bebop and Rocksteady cards, so reasons to bring them back so they can use these cards, which are all pretty strong. So Gruff Escort says after combat, deploy 2 foot soldiers anywhere, move Shredder up to 2 spaces. This is one of the only ways to deploy extra foot soldiers. I think it is the only way. So this is going to be a really important card, because instantly getting 2 more foot soldiers is crazy. You also get to move Shredder. So if you're able to attack with this card as your first action, and then maybe move Shredder adjacent because of the movement, and then hit with a Swarming Strike, which now is a guaranteed +2 because you got to put down the 2 foot soldiers anywhere. That's insane. So you hit with a 4 and you follow up with a 7. That's ridiculous. Or like set up for your Master of the Foot to clear out a whole board of token sidekicks at once. Or set up Long Shot, because now that you get to place your foot soldiers, you don't even need Shredder to get adjacent. You can always throw the Swarming Strike or the Long Shot because your foot soldiers allow Shredder to attack while he's away. So this card is absolutely insane. Probably the strongest card for Bebop and Rocksteady, and the reason you want to keep them around, because this just leads into some insane combos. And so the opponent probably never wants to end adjacent to your sidekick because they want to avoid the Gruff Escort into huge Shredder attack combo. And so you're probably going to have to use Obedient Subjects to get the extra action gain, right? So you're going to, like, if you already have, you start your turn, you put a foot soldier adjacent to Shredder, then you play this card, you maneuver first, up adjacent with Bebop, you attack them with this as your, well, no, that would be your last action. I don't know, this is going to be hard to set up, but ideally, again, you want a 1-2 punch of this into a big attack, so you're going to have to manage your foot soldiers well. I think Obedient Subjects is going to help pull off this combo, but if you can do it, it's going to be really strong. And then we see the next card for them is Gang Up. So 3 value attack during combat if the opposing fighter is adjacent to 2 or more foot soldiers. This card is 6 instead. So that's crazy strong. I mean, a 3 that goes to a 6 is like a jump scare from Bloody Mary. You got to get the 2 foot soldiers adjacent, and again, getting foot soldiers adjacent for your attacks is a little bit difficult. So that's where things like Obedient Subjects might come into play, because then you can use Gruff Escort with those extra actions to put down the foot soldiers and then make a second attack with the Gang Up, or whatever follow-up you're doing after Gruff Escort. But that's a really strong potential card. And lastly, we have Think Hard. So 3 value versatile after combat, draw a card for each foot soldier adjacent to the opposing fighter. So this could be some massive card draw if you really wanted it. I don't know if you're going to want too much card draw, but this is a fine card. Nothing special, but it's a Bebop and Rocksteady specific defense, so it gives them something to defend with that doesn't take away from Shredder, because looking at this deck, most of the cards are Shredder only as far as defenses and versatiles. So Bebop and Rocksteady only get the Think Hard, and they get the 3 long shots, and those are going to be what you're defending your sidekicks with. But even if they fall, that's fine, because you have Back to Work to bring them back so that you can pull off the crazy Gruff Escort combos. I think that's the main thing you're looking for in this deck, to maximize your damage output. But overall, I think it looks like a really interesting deck. There's a lot of strong cards, and I can't wait to see how easy it is to get the foot soldiers out where you want them to be. But there you go, that's the first of the 2 villains. Alright, last but not least, we have Krang, the one I'm sure you all have been waiting for, dying to see. The menace himself. So Krang is a solo melee fighter, 16 health, move 1. Very interesting, we haven't seen that since the T-Rex. Special ability, okay, maybe we saw for Leshen. I take that back. But anyways, Special ability is Doom. Krang has 3 Doomsday machines. Start with 1 machine active. After you roll the die of ultimate destruction, you can deactivate an active machine to re-roll the die. You add +1 to your move value for each active machine. And he says, morons. I'm surrounded by morons. So, here is the die. The die of ultimate destruction. Okay, it's got all sides on it except for a blank where the 6 would go. So he cannot roll a 6. It's 1 through 5 or a 0, essentially. So, be thankful for that. Here are the machines. Okay, so you have it active or inactive, and you have 3 of them, right? So there's your machines and your die of ultimate destruction. You're going to need those. And so you start with 1 active and the other 2 inactive, and you can deactivate 1 to re-roll the die whenever you have to roll it if you don't like your result. So there's a lot of crazy RNG involved here. And if you don't re-roll, then you can keep your movement value up so that you're not just a slow chunk move 1. So that's really important. So you probably want to hold on to those active machines for at least a little bit. Alright, let's look at his deck. First card, Android Arms, Chain Flail. I revealed this one the other day. So if the printed value of your opponent's card is less than the die roll, or they didn't play a card, they discard 2 cards. And there's 3 copies of this, so that is pretty devastating if this lands. Upwards of 6 discards, but like they are choice discards, right? They're not random, so at least be thankful for that. And I don't think this is super likely to trigger, actually, because the best you can roll is a 5, so if they defend with a 5, you're guaranteed to avoid this. If you feint this, you're going to avoid it, obviously, because you're canceling the effect. Even if you max value block with a 4, there's only 1 out of 6 chance that Krang gets to win over that max value block, so Skirmish and Leap Away are great into this. Even if it's a 3, he's got 1 out of 3 chance to make you discard. So if he hits that 1 out of 3, yes, you're going to feel really, really bad if you defend it with a 3. But it's not super likely, so odds are in your favor, so I wouldn't worry too much. But the biggest thing, if you're the Krang player, you want to land this undefended, because then it's guaranteed. So we'll see if there's any action gain combo potential so that you can try to whittle your opponent's defenses away and land this undefended. But it is definitely a devastating effect if it works. Alright. We are going to see more Android Arms, this time Power Bomb. So 3 value attack. During combat you may boost this card. So just like the Turtle Power that we saw earlier, there's 3 copies, which is great. And after combat you move the opposing fighter a number of spaces up to the amount of combat damage dealt. So it's kind of like Spider-Man's swinging web kick, his big attack, right? So you can boost this. You can even boost it with the Chain Flail if you wanted to make it a 6. And then you get to smack them away for however much damage you dealt. So really good card, and you get 3 copies, so that's great. Then we're going to see Android Arms Missiles. You may play this face up as a ranged attack. We've seen that before a couple of times now. Really strong ability. And then during combat, you increase this card's value by the die roll. So this could be a ranged 6. Let's be real, that is absolutely ridiculous. But it's unlikely, right, to roll a 5. A lot of times this might just be, you know, the difference between this being a 1 or a 2 or even a 3 is probably negligible. And that means you roll the blank, you roll the 1, you roll the 2. It probably all those are effectively the same value. And that's half of the die. So to deal any damage with this, you probably have to roll at least a 3, 4, or 5. So like 50% to deal nothing, 50% to maybe deal 1 or 2 damage. You know, I don't think this card is anything too much to worry about, but playing it face up as ranged attack, that's the real good thing about it, because being a slow melee fighter, you're going to need to be able to attack them even when they run away. And this is great for like passes when you're considering fatigue, just being able to throw it face up. We've seen Aridin do similar things with his card, so this is a really good card overall. Then we have Minimizer. So it's a 0, but immediately you decrease the value of your opponent's card by 4. So essentially this is a max value block. And then after combat you end the turn, which is really nice because although it doesn't cancel immediately or during combat effects, it will cancel your opponent's after combat effects because Defender always resolves first, and you will go straight to the end of the turn, skipping their after combat step of the combat phase. So Minimizer is a really strong defense, and you have 3 copies, which is great. Alright, then we have Molecular Amplification Unit. So 2 value versatile. Immediately you activate a machine, which is great. And then during combat, increase this card's value by the die roll. So similar to the missiles, except this one starts as a base 2. So this one is much more devastating, I think. Going from a 1 base to a 2 base is a big deal, because if you roll the 5, this is up to a 7, which is massive. But even if you roll like a 2, that puts this as a 4, which is potential to deal damage in the average scenario. So I think this one is much stronger on offense than the missiles, but also you can use it as a fantastic defense, because even bumping this to a max value defense, rolling the 2 is not difficult, and it could get even higher than that. So really, really good defense. And, you know, if you don't like the die result, well, you got to activate a machine with this, so you could immediately deactivate that same machine and get a reroll if you want. And there's 4 copies of this, so this is going to be a key card in the deck, and it's a really, really good one. All right, and then we see Pan-Dimensional Portal. Wow, first time we see a die roll boost value. That's insane. And then after combat, place a fighter in the combat in any space. They can't leave that space this turn, so they're stuck there. Both players put a die roll amount of random cards from their hands on the bottom of their deck, and then both draw 2. This card is just going to be insane in so many ways, because it's just so much chaos. Both players put the die roll amount of random cards from their hand. I think you roll the die once, and both players put that same amount of cards on the bottom, so at least it's fair. But, like, let's say Krang had only 1 card in hand or something, and he plays this, and the opponent has a full hand, and you roll like a 5, and then sure, they load up their deck, so they're way better off in fatigue than you are, but all of a sudden the hand counts are 2 and 2 because you each just draw the 2, and that could be like the kind of hand advantage swing that Krang needs to get back in the game, or maybe to close out a game, who knows. But this is just going to be so chaotic, and it's totally unexpected what's going to happen. And the fact that its boost value is unknown is ridiculous. So, like, if you want to try to boost with this card to reach your opponent, you don't even know if you're going to make it or not. Like, you might roll the blank and it doesn't do anything, and you still are only a move 1 or move 2 or whatever it may be. So I would not recommend boosting your maneuver with this, because it might be absolutely nothing. But I do like boosting it with Power Bomb, because it could be a 5 boost, in which case you're making Power Bomb up to an 8. And this is, I think, the biggest time where you'd want to use a machine to re-roll the die, because I think the random boost is so crazy. Like, the ceiling of this is insanely high, but the floor is insanely low. So I think it as a boost value is like the highest variance you're going to probably get. And so I think deactivating a machine to re-roll a die on a boost value is more impactful than anything else you're going to do with a re-roll. So this card is just absolutely nuts in every way. I don't know what to expect. We're going to see crazy stuff happen with that. Next card is Welcome to the Technodrome. Pretty simple. Immediately you either choose one, cancel all effects on your opponent's card, or you activate a machine. So it's your feint of the deck. You got 3 copies. You gotta love that. And if you don't need to cancel effects on your opponent's card, because maybe it doesn't have any effects, then you just get to activate a machine. So it's a feint plus. So really, really good card here. Next up, we saw Baked Goods reveal this one as he descended into madness. Warlord of Dimension X. So after combat, reveal the top card of your deck and your opponent's deck. If your card's name is longer, you draw it. I'm pretty sure I heard from Justin himself that it counts all characters in the name, that is like things like apostrophes and dashes and colons, as well as spaces, as well as letters. So you're counting letters and any characters. So that's going to be really annoying in competitive play to have to count the length of a card name. If it's like close, you're going to have to count them both, which is pretty tedious, and I think a lot of people are going to hate that, but it's also hilarious at the same time. But ultimately, like, a 3 with like a potential draw card is like not a great card, but it's funny. So next we're going to see Android Arms, the first scheme. So you get to move Krang up to question mark spaces, and Krang may move through opposing fighters. You deal a damage to each one you moved through, and you gain an action. This is kind of like Through Adversity from Daredevil. It's not a great card here in this case. You do gain the action, which the Daredevil one doesn't get, but like, you don't even know how far you're going to move. So I don't know. It's pretty risky to try to use. You could just use it to close the gap, to try to close the gap at least. If you're like stuck at a move 1 and you really need to reach them to make an attack, and you don't have the missiles to hit from range, well, maybe you have to do wings just to try to reach them to throw your power bomb or something. But I don't know. I don't think it's great, but it's also a 3 boost value, which is a reliable high boost value that you can use with power bomb to make it a 6. Same with Warlord of Dimension X, you can also boost with that one. So we'll see. This card could be good at clearing token sidekicks, though. If you can get like a 3 or a 4 with the die roll, I think it's pretty good at clearing them out. And then lastly, we're going to see IQ of 968, another random boost value, which is madness. And then activate all machines, draw unknown amount of cards, and recover an unknown amount of health. So this is probably the craziest card in the deck, hands down. Because, like I mentioned, the boost is already insane. Drawing upwards of 5 cards is ridiculous. You could also draw 0 cards, and maybe that's good. If you hit the 0 and you're worried about fatigue, then awesome, you don't have to draw, which could be good in some cases. And in other cases, drawing 5 will just completely win you the game. Recovering an unknown amount of health is just ridiculous as well. Like, what the heck, you could heal up to 5, which is the craziest healing we've ever seen. But again, this card is just so random and volatile that who knows how this is going to impact your game. It could easily win you a game, but it could also easily lose you a game. So I don't know about this one, guys. This is going to be total insanity, and there's 3 copies. I don't know what to expect with this. And it's not like you can even reliably use it as a boost if you don't want to activate it. Like, let's say this is too risky for you to activate. I don't know. You can't even rely on the boost, so the card's just ridiculous. And that's his entire deck. So he's got a lot of duplicates of all his cards, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Only 10 unique cards in the whole deck is probably some of the lowest unique card count we've ever seen in a fighter. Because everything's at least a 3 copy, other than the 4 molecular amplification units. But I guess maybe you need at least a little bit of consistency in deck composition when you have so much inconsistency in your card effects and whatnot because of the die. So maybe it balances out a little bit, I don't know. But this guy is absolutely crazy. How he's going to actually turn out to be competitively, I have 0 clue. But every game is going to be totally different, and it's going to be fun to watch. So there you go. There's the second of the villains with Krang. Okay, and then we're going to flip through all of these cards that come for the co-op. I'm not going to talk about all these because there's way too much. But if you guys want to pause the video and take a look, you can see what all these are about for the co-op mode. Better yet, though, if you want to probably just wait a little bit, you'll be able to watch probably Darkblade's video. I think he usually, when the new sets release, he does a video for the co-op. And you can see the stuff in action. I'm sure he's going to talk more about this stuff through the lens of the Adventures mode. I have only played Adventures a handful of times. I played the original Adventures against Mothman like 3 times, I think. And I never played against Martian Invaders. So yeah, I don't have a whole ton of experience with this. And then this one, I did my first game, my blind playthrough. It was a co-op game that I played with my friends and my girlfriend, and it was a lot of fun. We faced Shredder, and along with Shredder was Leatherhead, and Baxter Stockman, and Bebop and Rocksteady. And so that was a lot of fun. We won just barely. I thought we were going to lose, but we ended up making a crazy comeback. Like, the hand got out of control on the board because we didn't know that you could remove multiple hand in a single boost. We thought it was one hand to remove per... I'm saying hand. I think they're called foot soldiers or clan or whatever the heck they are. I don't know, but I keep calling them hand because of Electra, but oh well. Anyways, we thought it was one hand you could remove per maneuver, not per fighter. So you could move one fighter along multiple of the hand and remove them. So we didn't know that, so we were kind of playing a little bit on hard mode in a way by accident. So yeah, oh well, it is what it is. We still won, just barely, because we got overrun by the hand, and all the burrows were about to fall, but we were able to land the finishing blow on Shredder with like one more round left, because the final round would have just blown up the last burrow and we would have been defeated. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I played Leonardo because I figured that I like Leonardo as a character a lot, but I figured I wouldn't like his deck as much because it's really basic, and I like the more complex deck mechanics. So because of that, I was like, well, if I'm ever gonna, like, I'm not gonna play him probably much in 1v1 because he's more so made for teams, and so I figured I should just play him in the co-op mode for my first play. And so I did that, and his ability was nice, but honestly there was like so many cool cards in his deck, like the cancel and ignore and the Master Splinter healing scheme, that I never even saw. Like, I didn't even draw into them, so that was a bummer. I didn't see some of his best cards in deck, so I felt like I missed out on a lot of the cool stuff he can do in the co-op. But my friend played Michelangelo and my girlfriend played Raphael, and those guys did work. It was crazy. The combos and stuff that they were able to do were ridiculous. So there's all of those cards. We can look at card backs. I think we might have already looked at them, but just in case, I can show you guys all these. And then we'll take a quick look at the maps again. There's Krang and Shredder, are pretty much the same as their actual villain decks. Alright, here's the board. We'll take a quick look at the boards, and then we'll wrap up the video. So here was the one that I played on. Again, this is New York, and yeah, like, you have your fallen burrows, and then Shredder wins if all the burrows fall, or 4 of them fall, I think, or no, maybe it is all 5. But we were really close to losing, just because we got overrun. And these are all the little spots that you can put the foot soldiers on. In a 1v1 with Shredder as an actual hero, you can put the foot soldiers on any of the connecting paths, not just obviously there's not going to be, the markers in a regular 1v1 map, so you don't got to worry about placing them specific spots with Shredder. But take a look at this one then. So no gimmicks on either of these in terms of 1v1, which is the same as it was for the other Unmatched adventures with McMinnville and whatever the name of the other one was. But this one looks like it's very interconnected, and it's like only a few spaces from end to end. Like, you move 3 and you're literally attacking from here to here, like across the whole entire map. So that's kind of crazy. This map looks pretty tight, at least in the center row. Maybe it's longer to get like to the corners, because you got these breaks here, these corners that you have to actually go around this little wall, and same thing over here. So it's probably pretty long end to end. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces probably end to end, something like that. Probably similar on the other path. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, it's pretty far corner to corner, but from like end to end this way, it's not that far. So pretty interesting. We'll see how that turns out for competitive 1v1. But yeah, that is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles co-op set for you.
All right, guys, there you have it. That's going to do it for my TMNT box opening. And there was a lot we went through, so there is so much content packed in this one box. It's definitely a great value purchase, and it adds more to the co-op mode, and it adds 4, actually upwards of 6 new characters if you got the Shredder and Krang add-ons there. So just tons of new content for 1v1 as well. And that's just so many different matchups you can even do with those 6 fighters. It's crazy. So much value to this box. It's definitely worth it. And if you're a TMNT fan, you definitely cannot miss out on this set. It is an awesome one. And I cannot wait to play more of all of those fighters myself and see how they shake out in competitive play. But big thanks to Restoration, as always, for giving me the set early. That is much appreciated. And I hope you all enjoyed checking it all out here with me. And I hope you are excited to get yours coming up soon. But yeah, that's going to do it for the video. So everyone make sure you leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And you can consider supporting me on Patreon if you want to help me fund my editor Darkblade, who helps me to bring all of you this Unmatched content while I am busy with school. So yeah, big thanks to Darkblade, first of all, for doing all that for me. I really appreciate it, Zach. You're the best. Everybody give a shout out to Zach in the comments. But that's going to do it for this video, everybody. So thank you all for watching. I'm ZeroSkater12, and I will see you next time.